Welcome, Pewter Report readers, viewers, and listeners for a Thursday edition of the Pewter Report podcast, energized by Celsius, the official energy drink of Pewter Report. We've got a very special guest today as we continue our series with Buccaneer players and personnel members. Special guest today, Bucs second-year outside linebacker Markees Watts, who is one of three players that Bucs general manager Jason Licht identified as ones to watch heading into training camp. Now, this is the second time Markees Watts is kind of on that training camp sleeper list. He was last year, and boy, did he back it up with a roster spot as an undrafted free agent, beating out Jose Ramirez, who was a sixth-round pick. So it's going to be a fun show today. We are energized by Celsius. I am your host, Scott Reynolds, and alongside me is Adam Slovan. Adam, how are you doing?
I'm doing great on this Thursday afternoon. A little bit rainy outside, but really excited for the show with Markees and kind of getting to talk to him about how his second year is going with the Bucs, and as well as that, his journey to get into the NFL. He's been on quite a ride, so I think it'll be a really great show.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to ask him about Celsius, but my guess is the way he rushes the passer and with the juice that he brings getting after the quarterback, I would not be surprised one bit if you cut him open and it's not blood, it's Celsius pouring out of Markees. I could be wrong, but I'm just telling you. This guy is a big-time pass rusher in terms of the moves that he brings and the moves that Celsius brings with all of their vibes, the Astro vibe, the Cosmic vibe, the Galaxy vibe. Those are some of the newest flavors. Maybe you're an old school guy like Matt Matera, Arctic vibe, tropical vibe, peach vibe. I'm an old school orange guy myself. I start off most days with an orange Celsius, but it's got the essential energy that you need to power your workout, to power your day through work. And you can find it several places. You can go to the Celsius.com store locator on their website, punch in your address, and you'll be able to pull up all the different Celsius locations around the country. And maybe it's a grocery store. Maybe it's a health and fitness store. Maybe it is one of those chain stores. Maybe it's a convenience store. Or maybe it just might be your bodega.
Bodega.
There you go, Adam. That's a good one. Or you can also buy them in bulk at Amazon, which I had done this week and had them shipped right to my house. So it's so cool. It's like a Christmas present or birthday present in the mail. You get Celsius, and you're set up to go with all of the essential energy that you need to power your active life every day. Celsius, the official energy drink of Pewter Report. This is our special guest today, Markees Watts of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Let's bring Markees onto the program here. Hey, Markees, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How y'all doing?
Excellent. We appreciate you joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm on it.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, you and I got to know each other quite a bit last year. Somebody that I enjoy talking to in the locker room. I think you've talked to everybody at Pewter Report, from Matt Matera to Adam Slovan as well. And you're an interesting story because you were one of those underdog kind of guys that that really made an instant impact in training camp. You stood out like a sore thumb with your ability to get after the passer. And you hit the preseason running, right? Getting a sack against the Steelers. You had 7 pressures the next game against the Jets. And that was enough to have you earn a roster spot, even ahead of Jose Ramirez, who was a 6th-round pick. You came in as an undrafted free agent out of Charlotte. And, you're one of the more undersized guys, but we don't use that term lightly because, undersized meaning weight, not necessarily in terms of your muscular physique. I mean, that's a bit of a gun show there. You and Yaya Diaby. You're not shy about hitting the weight room. We know that, Markees. But you played in college, and I think you played a little bit last year in the 240s. Now, you and I have texted, and you're up over the 250 mark, aren't you?
Yeah, 250. I went up to 255 and even started pushing at 260 one point. But I realized that my game was right there in a good balance of speed and power around the 245 to 250. It's perfect.
Yeah.
So you talk about like adding some size. What have been the battles between you and Tristan Wirfs and Luke Gedeke in practice? Kind of heard about that last year a little bit with Wirfs being like, you're one of the toughest guys to face in practice. How does your strength hold up against them?
I haven't really got the sense. So we haven't really went past yet or anything like that. So I haven't really got the chance to go too hard or too fast or really full blitz. But so far, just correlating the power. I'm feeling the power. It's feel like I got to upgrade. Like I just went and downloaded some DLC or something, but I feel good so far. Practice been going smooth. The moves that I want to execute, they're much easier to do with weight and power behind it, and it's just made the game easier for me.
You're one of those guys that there really is kind of speed to power, and I was just curious. We know Tristan Wirfs is proficient in the weight room, right? He's probably the strongest Buccaneer, either him or Vita Vea. But I mean, again, you're not shy about lifting weights. You've added that size. You're at 250 right now, and you certainly could get a little bit bigger if you wanted to, but you want to keep that speed. But I mean, where do you stand in the weight room with guys like Yaya Diaby, for example, when you're doing your outside linebacker lifts?
Man, Yaya has some unseen power. I've never seen a guy push out so many high numbers consistently. So it's definitely a trail that I got to keep on. But I got my own strengths, and deadlifting is one of them. I love it to death. But yeah, Yaya, man, he's an absolute unit.
Well, give us some numbers here. What is he doing? What are you doing? You're talking about deadlifting. What numbers?
So we don't really go for weight.
Okay.
Now I can do weight. Yaya can do weight, but Yaya can move that weight.
Yeah.
It's absolutely phenomenal how he can the explosive numbers that he can get. But trailing behind him now, the number wise, AP is just so well that we don't even focus on too much of our number. We do focus on numbers.
Yeah.
But he's adequate on us training speed and power outputs, because that's the most important part of the game.
Yeah.
So I couldn't even give you numbers really if I wanted to.
You said, I remember talking to you late in the season that you were looking to improve and multiply your production and consistency. Now, something that kind of stuck out to me over the offseason, besides getting bigger, what have you done to your game as you're looking to improve and really make your mark this season?
Really understand the defense and eliminate my MEs. A lot of mental errors and stuff last season that I didn't have the experience, so it was going to happen. I know I understand that I was a rookie at the time, but it still took a very hard. I still took it on really hard mentally, because when you come to the NFL, you expect to be perfect. I want to do this perfect, I want to do that perfect, I want to perform like this. When you get in and you have the entire NFL and the game unloaded onto your shoulders, it doesn't go out like you planned. So this season, I'm focused on understanding the playbook, understanding the plays, and eliminating the MEs, and staying off the ME depth, like the ME chart that we go over and stuff before practice. So staying off of that as much as possible. And I did a really good job. Outside of that, just executing, making sure that when the big time moments arrive, I don't let the moment get too big for me.
Yeah.
I can't stand that. When it's time to show up, you don't show up. That hurts me. I don't want to do that. I had a time of doing that in college, and last season there was a couple of times where I felt like I needed to show up, and it wasn't there. It wasn't hitting for me because the moment got too big for me.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing when you're coming from, though Charlotte was not a small time team, we played a lot of big teams. We were a big team somewhat. The NFL is just larger, and the moments get twice as large as you can imagine in college. So just making sure the moment doesn't get too big for me, and when the time comes, I don't fold.
Yeah, we were talking to Servassier Dennis about that. We had him on the Pewter Report podcast earlier this offseason, and he was pretty candid. I mean, he said he went out for that preseason game. Now, you had a really good preseason opener against the Steelers. I think you had like a 91% grade or 91 grade for that game for PFF with the sack and the hit and the pressures that you had. But, he said that he didn't play well. He missed some tackles, and the NFL moment got to him a little bit. And then unfortunately, he hurt his hamstring and missed the other two preseason games. So then he kind of felt like he was behind as a result, but that's the human part of this, right? It's like, it is a kid's game, but you're getting paid a king's ransom at the NFL. The lights are on, you're on TV. It's no longer, the lower level football. It's the highest level that there is. Right. And if you think of it that way, as opposed to, this is a game I've been playing since Pop Warner, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that the key, to just kind of simplify it, to to prevent the moment from getting too big?
Yeah, coming into this season, even with the playbook and stuff, I talked to Coach Edwards plenty of times, and a lot of things that we both mentioned is that I look like I'm actually comfortable there. Don't look like I'm looking around like, oh, am I supposed to be doing this? Um, just having that understanding, that experience is huge and it's vital. And
Yeah.
just me being out there playing, I can understand what he was saying about certain things of last season. I can understand why he means I need to disguise this rather than creeping up on this play, and the vice versa of everything. And just the details, you're able to see it more clearly when you're out there. When something happens that you didn't game plan for, because you have a better vision, you have a sharpened eye to see, and you have an understanding of what's going on behind you, you can react in a more efficient way rather than, losing that play because, dang, I didn't really understand that. So just being out there as much as possible and absorbing that experience has been hugely beneficial for me.
We've had to make some bold predictions in our latest Pewter Report Roundtable
Mm-hmm.
column, which comes out every Tuesday on pewterreport.com.
Mm-hmm.
And mine was that you would eventually start this year opposite Yaya Diaby. That was my bold prediction. And the thing is, if you remember, you and we kind of I ran that notion by you at the end of last year. And this is after the Tennessee game, and you got your first sack against the Saints, and your arrow was pointing up for you towards the end of the season. And you seemed unfazed by it. That's something that you're looking to manifest. You obviously want to be a starter. Everybody does in the locker room, but it's not out of your grasp, Markees.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like you said, it's the thing that every NFL player wants. They want to play, they want to start, and they want to be that guy. I understand that I have a chance to do that. The press is on me even now. During this time off, that's all I've been thinking about. I had to take a long, like, what was it, like an 8-hour trip, an 8-hour drive, and we got into like 2 or 3 in the morning. And I'm listening. I like to listen to podcasts, audiobooks.
Yeah.
And I'm listening to David Goggins, and I'm listening to David Goggins driving like 3 or 4 in the morning, and I'm getting so inspired. I'm like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. And I know that I can achieve it, but I'm gonna have to outwork every single person in that room.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna have to outwork those top tier players. I'm gonna have to outwork, and I'm gonna have to earn that spot. It's not gonna be given to me. And if I want it to happen, it's gonna happen. And I got to make sure that I double down and I fight and make that work.
So let's talk specifics here. And I've gone on record saying you're going to wind up anywhere from outside linebacker 5 on the depth chart, which is kind of where you are now. Kind of it's where you were at the end of last year, to outside linebacker 2, like on the list. And so if you're going to climb that depth chart, what specifically do you have to work on? What is the one thing that you got to do? Is it setting the edge in the run game? Is it dropping in coverage with more proficiency? What's that one thing that you think will really catapult you up the depth chart? Because we know you can rush the passer.
Yep. It's in the NFL so far. What I'm learning is all about trust. I think the coaches, I need to earn that trust. I need to earn the trust of the coaches so they understand that they can, when they put me out there on the field, they can trust that I'm going to do my part. I can go the extra mile. I'm going to play. I'm going to be a reason that we can win by putting me out there. So I know when camp starts, it's going to be the first day until the end is me building that trust. Can we trust Markees Watts? I think that's the most valuable thing that a player can do is just install that trust. And once you install that trust, you maintain that trust by doing consistent work, making consistent plays, being that big time. And it's not about always making a big time plays. It's about making the small plays in between.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I was just going to say real quick, just we have this outside linebacker depth chart up there, right? And this is based on what we saw from mandatory minicamp. The starters were Diaby and Tryon Shoyinka. Second team was Nelson and Braswell, and then Watts and Ramirez. Randy Gregory wasn't there, so we don't know where he fits into all this. We have him slotted at outside linebacker 7 now, and then Peterson and Griziak are the two other undrafted free agents. Have you seen Randy Gregory at all yourself?
Oh no, nobody has really.
Okay,
Right. I'm sure there's a reason behind everything,
Yeah.
One guy not on the step chart compared to last season is Shaq Barrett, having gone to the Miami Dolphins. You took his old number 58 coming in as an undrafted free agent last season. Just want to ask you, what was it like kind of learning from him about how to make the most of being a smaller pass rusher, in particular in terms of like utilizing your technique and really capitalizing on the bend that you possess around the edge?
Mhm. Having Shaq in that room is beneficial for me in a very large way. Shaq had a boatload and a book full of wisdom. He fed into us the first day since we got there. He was always since the first day he got there. He always offered wise advice, guided us on some things that we should pay attention to and things that we shouldn't be stressing about. Um, but it was huge. I mean, having this number two I think is a good I think it's a good teaspoon of pressure on my shoulders as well because that number has a story behind it.
Hmm.
I don't think it was intentional, but it's just a thing. Shaq had the same position I had. He came as a undrafted free agent. He worked his way up. He fought for it. He made it work. And
Yeah.
and I'm in the same shoes. I have the option to have the same story, work my way up and fight and make that number mine.
Yeah, and you
I
guys are
remember,
undersized too, right? 6'1",
yeah,
250.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
remember one thing you said last season is that pressure's earned, and it kind of seems like getting that 58, you kind of put that little chip on your shoulder, and learning from him was really beneficial.
Yes, it was. I still believe to this day that pressure's earned. The higher you work, the more pressure that you have on your shoulders, more pressure and meaningful. And in each step that you take, all the smallest details are huge on the tables that you climb once you go higher up.
Mhm.
Markees, we've got a super chat here from Redfish 499. Thank you so much,
Mhm.
Redfish. We appreciate it,
Thank you.
Mark. He says, Markees, how do you navigate between the excitement of making it and wanting to start and play more? Or has the excitement worn off? Go Bucks.
The excitement never ends. The excitement. I was talking to someone at the mall, and I was just telling him it's still exciting. Like even the competition is exciting because you know that you're going to push past any goals or the levels that you could obtain on your own. Men sharpens men, iron sharpens iron, and I believe in that. And the excitement never ends because the work never stops, the competition never stops, and the improvement never stops. So that is a constant cycle that's feeding each other, and excitement is always there.
Jason Light named you as one of the 3 training camp players to watch heading into camp. That you had a very
Mhm.
good off season. You're the guy that kind of has the bend that nobody else really does, and
Mhm.
that's kind of what Shaq had, right? Was that quick get off and the ability to dip down. Low man wins in football, right? You're not
Yep.
Yeah.
6'6", you're 6'1". You use that to your advantage. He calls you bendy, right? That's kind of like what Light has to say about that. Did we lose Marquise? Are you there?
I'm back.
Okay, you're back. Yeah, but he said that you're bendy, that you have the ability to dip down and all. That's one of your pass rush moves is to get low and turn the corner and get the arc. Todd Bowles had this to say about you in minicamp. He flashed last year. Obviously, we know he's a pass rusher. Getting the system down will be big for him in the run game, and the early down stuff we'll see. We know he can rush the passer again. He has the versatility to do some things in certain packages, but he's got to be a very good special teams player as well. He's talented. We look forward to getting the pads on and seeing what he does this year. And special teams was really an area where, you had the opportunity to shine. It was kind of like, you and Cam Gill were kind of yo-yoing on and off the inactive list.
Yeah.
And now with not only Shaq Barrett's departure, but also with Cam Gill's departure, I think that's a nod to your ability to play on special teams and contribute that way as well.
Yeah, I remember still thinking about like trying to make it work. I'm like, dude, that's just like talent in this room. Playing against Cam Gill and playing up to the standard to stay in the room with guys like Shaq Barrett. And I knew the pressure was there. And I was just thinking about doing the best that I could at the things that I was good at. And I got started getting stressed out really, really in depth when it came to special teams because I knew the areas and things that I had to improve on.
Mm-hmm.
But unlike college, you didn't get a lot of reps to practice
Yeah.
Right.
those things.
Yeah.
So only thing you have is film, and you have the techniques that you can sit down and talk to your coach. I went and sat down with Coach Keith. Even the special teams coordinator now went in and sat down with him and trying to figure out things that I can do to improve. But the special
Mm-hmm.
teams part, I know is huge, and now that the kickoff is changing and stuff like that, so it's
Yeah.
even more
Yeah.
huge. And I can't wait. I really, really, the special teams part I know is just as huge as me being able to pass rush.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on the new kickoff rule too? Because really, it's become more of an offense and defensive play, especially at the kickoff, right? Rather than just the running 40 yards down the field, trying to find the ball, et cetera, et cetera. Oops, looks like we lost Markees there for a second.
Yeah.
A little bit of technical difficulty there. But that is one thing that's interesting, Adams. When you look at the special teams play, the kickoff return now and kickoff coverage, it's different. It's a different
It
animal,
is.
right? In terms of being able to, create a play and have that kick returner, whether it's almost like an end around or a running play. It's a different type of play. It's not that traditional special teams play anymore. It really is a play that is more offense and defense. And I wouldn't be surprised if Todd Bowles has a little bit of say so in um, the formulation of that. In other words, you have a line of scrimmage,
Yeah.
and Thomas McGahee is trying to figure this out, like every other special teams coordinator is trying to figure this out. And I'm just curious as to if Bowles has a little bit of input into this, because it's more of an offensive defensive play.
Yeah, that's a great point, and especially with somebody like Bowles in terms of kind of on defense, you see it in all his blitzes and the creative ways that he aligns guys. What you might see in terms of the kickoff and utilizing somebody like Markees Watts, who's able to separate from like an offensive tackle, with it being more of a line of scrimmage play, having those kind of guys has a lot of value when they're trying to chase down the kick returner. So
Yeah,
it'll be an interesting element to consider.
there's no doubt about it. And this is a guy that really, as a rookie, was called on to play in special teams and did. And Markees, if you can unmute your mic there, you see that you're back. There we go.
Yeah, I'm
Excellent.
back.
Yeah. So we're just talking about the kickoff return and the kick coverage part of that. It's really more like an offense and defensive play now, because you essentially have a line of scrimmage. It's no longer running 40 yards down there trying to find the ball and make a tackle and stay in your lane. Does this maybe play to some of your strengths a little bit?
Yes, in my opinion, it does, because it became a very close quarter type of thing now. The ball is getting up to that contact line really fast. I give it like two seconds, and the
Yeah.
ball is right there, and you're making a decision whether or not you're going to cut off front side or back side of your man that's trying to block you to make a play. So it's going to benefit us a lot when it comes to stats. It's going to benefit the return teams, because now those gaps are going to open up and close even faster. But you get to those gaps in just enough time. I
Yeah.
mean, man, I can't see anything else but less of a touchdown.
And with your speed and quickness and the ability to go side to side, to be able to quickly find the ball and and react to it, because you said it's going to happen so much quicker now. You're not going to
Mhm.
have 40 yards to kind of scan and look and see how the blocking
Line
scheme is
yourself
set up.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, it's even harder on that. But the pros are also come with the cons, because the cons are, if you're in a return team blocker, you don't have a lot of time now, so you gotta negate where the ball's going, where they decide to kick it.
Yeah.
But now that guy's 10 yards in front of you, you only have about 5-10 yards of drop space before you need to make contact. So
Right.
the game is going to speed up in that aspect. But if you block that guy, you don't have to block him as long, because the ball's going to be gone in 2-3 seconds. So it's going to speed up in that. You may be able to block more than one guy
Yeah.
with one guy, because you can run through him. As long as you make contact, the ball's traveling so fast, then you can go to another guy, can move on up. So I'm very curious of what teams are going to do with that. I'm very curious to how that's going to turn out, and I know the stats are going to go crazy this year, just
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
kickoff. And I hope I'm one of those guys. I'm going to make sure I'm one of those guys that benefits from it.
There you go.
So going into the offseason, there were questions about how you fit into the outside linebacker picture. Scott mentioned before you could
Hmm.
slot anywhere from number 2 to number 5 on the depth chart. There's plenty of depth at the position for the Bucs, and with the NFL always being a competition amongst your brothers, from Yaya Diaby to Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, what do you think separates you as a player in that room?
Um, I would love to say, my favorite thing that I say to tell people that ask me what makes me different or why do you think I stayed, I would say my pass rush.
Hmm.
My pass rush, and that got me through so much. Me being able to pass rush and my energy to sprint and run down a ball from anywhere where it is on defense, or where how long the play is. just being able to get to the ball and being able to get to the quarterback to cause a pressure or get a sack.
Yeah, I'm going to put up a picture here. If you can just kind of, does that hurt a little bit? Because you were so close.
Man, what? That still hurts. That still hurts, man. Coach Edwards still cracked jokes on me about that one.
Yeah, I mean, because that we talked to and I talked to Yaya about it after he sacked Josh Allen for the first time. Right, that was his first NFL sack was against Josh Allen, and he told me after you guys came back from Buffalo. He said that he'll take it, but it's not really a sack because he chased Josh Allen out of bounds for the sack.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And your lone sack came against Derek Carr, and didn't you chase him out of bounds as well?
Yeah, it was a chase out of bounds.
Right.
And I'm so used to college that when I got to the sideline, I'm like, okay, I chased him out of bounds. Good. And I got back to the sideline, people are slapping me with my helmet. Congrats, man, that's your first one. How you feeling about your first one? I was like, yeah, I forgot. I'm thinking about, I'm just playing ball. Like, I'm like,
Right.
okay, got to play. I'm sprinting. He runs out of bounds. I get to the sideline. It was cheering me on. I'm like, dang, I got my first. I was like, nah, that one don't count. I was like, that counts. But to me, emotionally, mentally, I'm like, that one don't count. I got to bring the guy down.
Right. Exactly. And you were so close to Bryce Young on that play. And he's fast.
Man.
He's
extremely close.
Yeah.
You'll be looking to get plenty more this upcoming season, but heading into like last season and your goals to make the roster, you were far from guaranteed a roster spot. And as you mentioned, being an undrafted guy, you really had to fight your way to make the team. What has been your mindset and approach as you've continued that fight and the opportunity to really make it as an NFL player?
I understand that the fighting style has to be different this season. Last season, I was making sure that I did everything to expose my talents and what I was good at. This year, the fight is completely different because now they know my talents. Now they want to see did I improve those talents, and also did I improve the areas that they need players in. So obviously, Top Bowl stated that he needs to be a good special team player as well. They're going to be looking for me to improve in that. I'm a second year guy. I'm no longer a rookie, so the ME's got to be gone. The trust has to go up. I understand that, and as the season goes on and training camp starts, I'm going to have to improve those things. I'm going to have to show up when they ask me to show up. I'm going to show up on special teams.
When you when you have that mindset that you're looking for in terms of what you have to do to improve in those mentally the MEs, the mental errors. What are some of those mental errors? If you can just kind of educate the Bucs fan base out here, the Pewter people that are watching, what are some of the things that Todd Bowles, Casey Rogers, Larry Foote, and your position coach George Edwards, what are they knocking you and other players for in terms of what constitutes a mental error on a given play?
A mental error is anything that Top Bowles is genius. Like the way he has the defense drawn up, the way he has us executing the game plan, and his eyes and what he sees fit, it's exquisite. And once it comes together, it's beautiful and it works. But the MEs come in to where you aren't executing. You're not where you need to be. You're not disguising something that needs to be disguised. And those are critical in our line, on defense. So he's been putting an extra emphasis on being where you need to be, disguising what you need to disguise, and executing a play like you need to be executing a play. So any of those, if you didn't do exactly what you're supposed to do in those phases, those all account to a ME.
Got it.
So I'm just making last season, me being nervous and me being a rookie, I had a lot of those where I'm like, okay, should I be here? And to me, even if I do get lucky, okay, I think I'm supposed to be here. To me, that doesn't feel like a win because I was where I was supposed to be. But however, I wasn't sure if I was supposed to be there.
Yeah,
not having that confidence.
Having that confidence. So even though I wasn't getting MEs and things that I were successful on, it didn't feel like a win to me because I barely got it off.
You were active. You were active in a handful of games, especially towards the latter part of the season on defense, right? And you played special teams quite a bit, but really on defense. How helpful is it to when you watch film? You watch film and you're in the film, right? It's not like you're watching through the first couple of weeks when you're inactive. You're watching other guys at outside linebacker, JTS or Nelly or Yaya when he was in as a backup. But when you actually get to watch your film and you see the stunts, the games, the twists that you were a part of, dropping into coverage, things like that, that has to accelerate your learning curve, right?
Yeah, it does. And it also feeds back into that question earlier about how does the excitement continue on. And that's one of the things too, because me fighting for reps, when I got those reps, it feels good to be out there. It feels good to do the right thing and be out there making plays. But getting back into the meeting room and getting another victory is seeing yourself on film, knowing that you're doing this right and you're out there with those people on that caliber level, performing and winning in areas that you are. So it's exciting. Like that play right there was huge for me. Like I
Yeah.
was panting. I
That was a
think
big win.
one of those celebrations, eventually one of our home games last season, we were supposed to be celebrating. Everyone was on the boat with Winfield. And I was just so tired. I was so happy that I literally went to the end zone and just laid down.
Yeah, I mean, this is a play where you hit Will Levis and the ball flutters up in the air. Winfield
Mhm.
picks it off, right? And that had to be a great moment for you because I think obviously the best thing for any defensive player is either a scoop and score or pick six, right?
Yeah.
But when you get, and then probably the next thing for you as a pass rusher, the sack fumble, right? That's the second best thing, right? And
Yeah.
Yaya even had the triple, right? He had the sack, forced fumble recovery against Trevor Lawrence on Christmas Eve against the Jaguars. You guys blew out the Jaguars here in Tampa.
Hmm.
But to have that hit that creates a takeaway for the defense, that's got to feel good.
Oh man, what it felt like just like the first time I left the field, I'm really excited. I contribute something.
Yeah.
Because every man out there wants to contribute their talents. They want to contribute something, and to do that and to do it for a player good as Antoine is absolutely huge. I felt excited. I was excited to block somebody too, but it didn't
Yeah.
even get to me that far. It didn't get that far up to me. So it was a huge feeling.
Let's go back a little bit to your college days and kind of talk about how you got on the Bucs radar and you made the team coming from Charlotte,
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
49ers, right?
yes,
And
sir.
and
Charlotte, North Carolina.
you had an interesting number there. You were actually number 0. Let's find a picture of you. Well, let's just put this up, shall we? You were number 0 there. And is that a
Hmm.
number that you wanted to get? Obviously, Yaya claimed that. He's now Sub-Zero, as he likes
Yeah.
to be known.
No, I wasn't a huge fan of the number. I got it.
Really?
Yeah, 'cause as soon as I found out we could get it, I was like, oh, I want it. And
Yeah.
then I got it. I was like, I don't know. I wasn't a huge fan of the number, but it looks good. Like I love anybody. Like Yaya looks good and it fits him.
Yeah.
But I didn't think it was fitting me. I didn't think it fit me.
Well, 58 looks really good on you. Like you said, you're going to try to do your best to uphold the story behind that number. But
Hmm.
it's interesting to note because you're the leading sacker at Charlotte, and you had 21 and a half career sacks, a career high 9.5 in 2019 when you were playing with a guy named Alex Highsmith, who is now a pass rushing phenom with the Steelers.
Hmm.
He had 20 sacks, including 14 playing opposite you. And you guys were a nice 1-2 punch for the 49ers back then. What was it like to have that level of success and to break his sack record?
Man, it was huge. I remember I was one sack out, and I was fighting for that last sack so hard every game we played. But to play alongside guys like Alex, man, it feels great because the offense has no choice but to balance up. So you're going to make sure if it was just me out there, they would slide to me. They would make sure that I was blocked. They would put me in the most adverse positions. But once you have two guys on the edge and you got someone as talented as Alex Highsmith on the other side, they don't have too many options.
Yeah.
It's a problem just to figure out which way they're going to block him, which way they're going to send this, and so it made it difficult for an offense, but it was beneficial in us in
Yeah.
both of our pass rush games, and we
Yeah.
just fed off each other.
You were still in college at the time, but the last time the Bucs played the Steelers was in 2022, and Alex Highsmith had a sack on Donovan Smith against Tom Brady in that game. So
Yeah, it's huge. I didn't even
yeah.
know that. That's my first time doing that. That's crazy.
Yeah. Well, and let's just take a look at your career here too. 31 career tackles for loss. You did play one more year than Highsmith, but hey,
Yeah.
it is what it is. But
Mhm.
look at the production in terms of the takeaways. We were just talking about the ability to
Yeah.
take away the football. You had an interception. He didn't. You had 6 forced fumbles. He had 3. You had 3 fumble recoveries, including a scoop and score. And
Mhm.
he had 1 fumble recovery. So I mean that's quite a career to stack up against an accomplished guy like Highsmith, who went third or was a 3rd round pick of the Steelers a few years ago.
Yeah, it still came with a lot of pressure though, but it was fun, man. As you was calling those stats, I could remember all the plays, and it was. I still got the Georgia State ball behind me from the touchdown that I got that game.
That's awesome.
Very cool.
Is Alex still someone that you talk to now in the NFL?
Yeah, the staff back in Charlotte invited us to one of the playoff games for the NCAA, and that was the last time I saw him. He was about to head back to training too, so it was good to see him. Every time we see him, we always link up and have a good conversation, catch up.
Are you looking forward to the new college football game coming out on EA Sports? Because Charlotte's one of those teams now.
Yeah, it is. That's kind of crazy to think about. I hated it waited so long because I would love being in college playing with our team, but
yeah,
as long as it's better now than never.
This is true. Going back to your Charlotte days, Charlotte actually upset Duke at the home season opener back in 2021, and that was a game in which you recorded a sack. Taking us back there, was it against Graham Barton, who's playing left tackle, or do you remember who it was against?
It was their right tackle. I remember bending off the edge and just coming right around the edge, and it was so free and open. I ran. He started to run, and it was still like a self-collapsing sack because I was already right there on him, and he had no other option. He couldn't get rid of the ball because everyone was running back's turn, and I'm just wrapping around the shoulder and just sliding down with him. He just gave me the sack, and I was happy. He stood up. We got back up and started playing again. But that game was insane. The lights ended up going out at one point, and people started getting hyped, and the game continued on, and that was just a fun game altogether.
You guys came back in the last minute to beat Duke.
Yes, it was huge.
Where does that rank in terms of program history for you guys?
I think it was our first game that we had won against
Power
that
5
division
school?
team. Yeah, I think it was the first time. Yeah, so it was huge. I mean, the stands. It's been a few games, about 3 or 4. I think 4 games that really stood out throughout collegiate career, and I was definitely one of them.
Do you have you had a chance to talk some trash to Graham Barton about that game?
No, I have not. No,
not yet.
No, I got a couple of Maryland guys on the team, so I get enough crap talk about when we play them. So they always give me a hard time.
Yeah, they took it to you guys, huh?
I know one of them's Rakim Jarrett.
Yes, exactly. That's the guy.
So here's a bit of a question from Bat W. Who are you behind, Yaya or JTS? And let's just say that Todd Bowles and George Edwards, they will look for matchups, and it's not like these guys are exclusively planted on one side or the other. But we have seen Yaya more lining up against left tackles on that right side of the defense, and JTS has been a little bit more on the left side. And correct me if I'm wrong, but you see a fair amount of time at left end as well, right?
Yeah, the left side as well. Yeah. I mean, we're very balanced. We don't really choose too many. Well, once Coach Edwards realized that we're starting to choose our favorite side and stuff like that, he made sure to switch us up and make sure things are balanced so things don't get kinging on one side, and once you get to the other side, it feels like you're on a different planet.
Yeah.
So it keeps us really well and intact with our balance abilities and stuff like that, rushing from each side.
Here's one thing that we've talked about. Matt Matera and I have talked about in the Pewter Report podcast that drives me a little nuts. And maybe this is the Pop Warner defensive line coach in me coming out, because I coached it for 6 years. So I love pass rush. We had this jet package. We would put our best pass rushers, regardless of position. Sometimes they take our safety and put him down coming off the edge because he was the fastest kid on the team. But it seems like last year you guys were almost doing hockey shifts where it'd be 5 plays or 4 plays. Forgive me for not knowing exactly how many plays, but it would be, say, Shaq and Yaya, and then you'd have Joe and Nelly come in, right? And regardless of the down and distance or whatever, now maybe goal line or third and short, you would have different packages, right? Will Golston comes in. It looks a little different.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I'm looking at your pass rush win rate was 23%. That was easily the highest on the team, right? You had a sack. I think you had 6 or 7 pressures and very, very small sample size of pass rush plays. I'd love to see you come in on every third and long situation, even if it's just for that one play. Has there been any talk about switching up the rotations a little bit? Because, I mean, I love Anthony Nelson. I'm not saying he can't get to the quarterback. He He's had 5.5 sacks and 3 forced fumbles a couple years ago. But I mean, doesn't it make more sense to put like your two best pass rushers out there on 3rd and long, whether it's you or Yaya and whoever?
Yeah, in the dream world, I'm loving that, but um, I thought about it. I wanted that all last season. I still want it. To make sure I'm out there when a pass rush is calling and it's much needed. That is one thing I plan on. That's one of my goals this season. Make sure that I'm out there when it gets to those points, so I can make the most I can of those opportunities. Because now in today's game, passes fast. You got really fast athletes at wide receiver. You got
Yeah.
quarterbacks to have eye and arm that can sling that thing out of the backfield really
Mhm.
fast. So
Yeah.
those opportunities they come and go fast, and I want to make sure that I build that trust. That's that trust I was talking about earlier, that I can build that trust. So once it does come to that 3rd and long, and certainly pass plays that they know, hey, we need to get Watts out there. We can trust him to get there. He's shown us that we can trust him to get there.
Yeah.
So that's something I feel like that I can control completely. I'll take full responsibility for that, and I feel like I can do it, and I'm going to make it work this season.
Markees, you're getting some love here from the Pewter people. Emily says, "Hi, everyone. Markees, best of luck to you this upcoming season. Hope the hype is high for the team to make it happen this year for that 3rd Super Bowl trophy." Nathan
Amen.
Elliott says, "Markees, you're giving great, intelligent answers. Look forward to seeing this level of football IQ on the field more." Tom says, "Smart guy. He's going to dominate this season."
Thank you. I appreciate every last one of you. I really do. I love the good vibes, the good energy.
There you go. Let's talk about some of your draft mates from last year, because we've mentioned a couple of these names. Yaya Diaby, you were just talking about the type of off season he's had in the weight room. Kalijah Cansey, the one thing I've really noticed, I did a whole Pewter Pulse video on this, was these guys are like each other's shadow. They're very serious when it comes to football. Always talking ball. Always. And it reminds me of, and I don't want to get, way ahead of myself here. These guys have only played 1 year in Tampa Bay, 1 year in the NFL. But I started covering the Buccaneers in 1995. I know that makes me an old man, Markees. But I walked in the door with these two guys. You might have heard their names, Warren Sapp and Derek Brooks. They were rookies on my first year on the job. And the one thing you noticed about those two guys, they came from winning programs, Florida State and Miami, respectively, with Brooks and Sapp. And they wanted to change the culture. They wanted to turn the Yuccaneers into the Buccaneers and become a feared defense. And that happened. And, of course, it manifested itself into playoffs, championship in 2002, the Super Bowl, the first Super Bowl in team history. But those guys were each other's shadow. They took it seriously. They weren't happy to be in the NFL. They wanted to be great, and they were. And I kind of get the same vibe from these two guys, and we'll see what happens. But do you kind of pick up on that when you see Kalijah and Yaya? They're always hanging around talking ball, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean their relationship goes back to a point where I wasn't even in the picture yet. So those guys have been working together and communicating with each other and being against each other, and they coming in on the same wavelength, being draft picks and things like that. So I know those guys resonate and reflect off each other. Their lockers right beside each other too. So
Yeah.
I know they're constantly bouncing thoughts off each other, and they have the same goals. They know the expectations. Their expectations are on a different level when it comes to guys that they expect to come in as a free agent, and guys they expect to really shine because they put so much effort and thought behind who they pick and who they choose, and those guys are two of those high caliber guys that they chose.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the expectation, I know some the similarities between the two and the things that they have in common and the pressure that they have in common is shared. So I know for a fact that they have a bond that goes much more than the eye can reach.
Vita Vea has slimmed down and looks even quicker. Still as big in terms of muscles, but I mean, just
Yeah.
kind of trimmed down.
Lost that belly.
Yeah. This is going to be a 1-2 punch right here. I mean, you talk about getting Graham Barton ready to play in the NFL, going up against these two guys. What is this going to do for Graham Barton's learning curve, going up against someone who's as cat-like quick as Kalijah Cansey, and who's just a monster in the middle, an absolute beast of pure power in Vita Vea.
He's going to learn a lot of lessons really fast. I mean, his wisdom's about to go through the roof. His growth curve is about to just absolutely bend. That guy, he's in such a hard position because you got a mixture of everything. For a pass rusher like me or outside linebacker and just in our group, we can pretty much base the consistency of the game off us.
Yeah.
We can base, hey, when I give it speed, he's going to react faster, he's going to set deeper. We know what to predict. But once you add his position, you got guys that are completely different players from beginning to size and to the end of technique. It's got to be so hard to adjust, and you have to adjust on a dime.
Yeah.
And not only is he keeping eyes on one person, he has to keep an eye on Vita Vea, who might just club you and dislocate your shoulder. He's so powerful. And then you got somebody like Kalijah who's going to clean your hands right up and just run past you. So,
Yeah.
I mean, he's absolutely going to get a handful, but with pressure comes a lot of knowledge and a lot of growth. So he's going to grow. I believe in him. He's going to do really good.
We've got some more questions and comments here from our Pewter people. This is from Nathan Elliott. Markees, will you be part of Operation Fill the Boat in 2025? Talking about the Bucs fan cruise. Yaya Diaby was on that last year. Joe
volleyball
Trine-Shoyinka.
MVP.
Yeah. Are you going to be joining the
I hope so.
the
I
Bucs
hope so.
cruise?
Yeah. Once I saw the pictures and stuff, I realized that I had missed out. So I hope I am. That looks really fun.
Yeah, we're going to be on that next year as well. So we'll look to see you there. This is a good one from JB. What's your cheat meal?
Man, cinnamon. Let me choose. Let me slow down for a second because I was about to say like three things at once. The one thing, because I'm maintaining my weight, making sure I stay low on fats and stuff like that. But the one thing I do is it's a cinnamon melt. It's like a cinnamon roll, but it has the glazed cream across the top.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, man! When I tell you those things are so good,
Yeah,
it's so good. Those I get those like really once a week.
Yeah.
And I got to make sure I eat one on my day that I know, like, hey, I'm good today. Like, I'm good today. I can eat this.
Right.
But it doesn't weigh too much. I know the sugars are through the roof. I hate to get the numbers back on that thing if I ever got to check. But cinnamon melts. Cinnamon melts that's the one for me.
This is from LDBC's Most Wanted, $4.99 super chat. Thank you so much for your support, LDBC's Most Wanted. Watts, wish you a great 2024 season. Out of the 2022 draft class, who do you think will have the best career? Cheers.
Ooh, that's broad. You gotta give me some options. Is there any way you can give me some options?
We'll circle back. We'll circle back around to that question there. Yeah. BB King says, Markees, how do you like the city of Tampa?
Man, I enjoy Tampa so much. They got a little bit of everything. I love the balance. I love the spacing of everything. Everything's close. At the drive here, there's not one drive, I think, in Tampa. The drivers, questionable whether or not they're good. I mean, I'm willing to debate anybody with the drivers here, man. I'm telling you, everyone has a place to go, and they have to get there fast because their life depends on it. But
it's a speedy town. There's no doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Tampa, man, I enjoy it, man. It feels like home.
And Shane Lambert says, love the fact you're focused on no mental errors. Best way I know of to be an amazing team player. It reminds me of Levante. That's some high praise, putting you in the Levante David category there.
That's huge. Like that guy's like, when I came in, I just remember watching him like play and stuff like that. Like we'll be in install, and I'll be in there like just scratching notes, and he's like, he's already knows, like he has so much experience and value and stuff like that. I look up and I see him, and he's like, yeah, like he's just like nodding, like just watching him write it up. Like I'm like, I can tell that he has it already installed, like he's ready to go. And I'm like, I want to get on that level. I know I want to get on that level of understanding and comfort and knowing the game. So that him and a couple other veteran players that I can watch, and once you see them get out there, I've already knew that they were a head started me by years. So I was like, bro, I got a long way to go. But that guy, man, to be considered in that same category, that's huge. I'll thank him for that.
That's awesome. Tom says, hey, Markees, what NFL pass rusher do you study the most?
Me. Me for sure.
Good
Me,
answer.
man. I said,
Self-critique, right?
man, what? I'm talking about. I watch film, or I'm constantly thinking like, dang, how did I lose that rep? What can I do different? Yeah, man. I'm always evaluating me. Like when we watch games and stuff like that, I watch the game over and I just watch my reps over and over again,
Mhm.
over and over again. So there's nobody I watch more film on than I myself.
How about some of the guys that you want to steal some tips and tricks from, borrow from the best? Who
Hmm.
do you, or even dating back to your college days, were there NFL players that you would study and kind of take little parts of their game and apply it to you?
Oh yeah, the when it comes to getting that bend, I've it was always been Von Miller. Like when it
Yeah.
came to him, because he was the most similar to my size,
Mhm.
build, and I was like, that's the mock up. So I need to take parts that I'm really good at my game
Yeah.
and parts that I know I can execute of his game, and I would just copy and mimic it. And I took it to the
Hmm.
game. And anytime I'm watching football, I see somebody do something, I want to add that to my repertoire. I want to add that. That's going to be good. That's going to be good. I'm like, I want to try that out. That's going to mix it up really well. So that Max Crosby has a couple of moves in there that I absolutely love watching him do. So it's going to be it's constantly. But I would say Von Miller for sure. That's the number one.
Wanted to
There.
ask you
Go ahead.
a non-football related question. You mentioned kind of before when you were talking about adding size, like it felt like you kind of added DLC. So it kind of
Mhm.
seems like you're a gamer. For the pewter people out there, is gaming a hobby, or do you have any other hobbies and interests when you're not on the football field?
Yeah, I use gaming to decompress.
Hmm.
Does it always work? No, because sometimes it just compresses me more. It makes me angry, so I have to turn it off anyway. So it's like striking a match and seeing if it lights. But I do play games when it comes down to it. Yeah, I come home sometimes and I eat. I'm like, I don't want to take a nap yet. If I do take a nap, I won't play games. But some days I come home, I'm like, I just want to play a game for a little bit, and I end up playing Hell Divers or Call of Duty's. Call of Duty's that iffy one because like you play it to decompress,
Yeah.
but you
Yeah.
see yourself on there like an hour and a half later, and you can play much longer. But it's just
Right.
like an hour and a half later, you're so mad, you just gotta turn it off. You're like, you gotta just leave and turn it off. Call of Duty, man, that's an iffy game. But Hell Divers, like I play Hell Divers all the time, so
Yeah.
something you can work with teammates and get on, get off.
Yeah.
Well, I don't make you mad, but I got to put this picture up here. This was your last game. This was Kalijah sacking Jared Goff. Unfortunately, you guys didn't get to him enough. You
Hmm.
guys lost to the Lions twice last year.
Hmm.
And, you also lost to the 49ers, not the Charlotte 49ers, the San Francisco 49ers. And you
Yeah.
get both of those teams on the schedule again this year. This year, the 49ers come to Tampa Bay later in the year. But week 2, you get to go back to Detroit and try to avenge that playoff loss. What does that game mean to you? I know I've already talked to some of your teammates. It's already one of those games that's circled on the schedule.
Hmm.
Do you have it circled? Because this is probably an early season measuring stick. The Lions and the 49ers were the class of the NFC last year, given the fact they were both in the championship game.
Hmm. That is a circle game for us. I mean, it's a circle game for me as well. I think that was one of the most painful games to watch because it's not the game isn't going the way you want it to. It's the second round of playoffs. We lost them one time already, and watching that second game, um, and just being out there but not really feeling like you could help. Like I wanted to help. I'm like, okay, I know
Yeah.
I could do something. I can go out there and help in some way. I want to help. So it's one of those games that hurt to watch, and one of those games that motivated me too. Because if I get the chance, like I'm going to show you, like if I get a chance, I'm going to show you that you can put me out there and I can provide help and I can change things. So that was one of those games that was hard to watch. So it's circle for me as well because I didn't like to go out the way we went.
Yeah. In the first game of the season, go up against Jaden Daniels, Heisman Trophy
Mhm.
winner, one of the
Rookie
most mobile
quarterback.
quarterbacks, coming
Yeah.
in. I mean, he's not Lamar Jackson yet. You'll face Lamar also on Monday Night Football this year. But
Mhm.
I mean, to have the second overall pick come in his first game, got to imagine Todd Bowles and you guys on defense are licking your chops a little bit there.
Oh yeah, and almost definitely. Because I mean, that left a bad taste in everyone's mouth for the reasons being, I know it's personal for some people because some people were out there playing and they didn't
Mhm.
perform that it to the standard that they wanted to perform, or they felt like they had a play to change the game and change the outcome for that game.
Yeah.
So I know it's not a familiar taste. It's not a similar taste in everyone's mouth, but it's very much a similar and common feeling among the team that we're going to get out there, we're going to make up for what we did, and I think everyone's gonna come out there to that game with a chip on their shoulder to avenge, a fallen goal from last season. So
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what's gonna happen, especially with the new guys out there. So it's gonna be fun to watch and be a part of.
I mean, I can't imagine Jaden Daniels coming in here in week 1, the Washington Commanders, and facing a Todd Bowles defense right out of the gate in your very first NFL game.
Yikes.
He'll have a couple preseason reps, I'm sure, right? But I
Yeah.
mean, you're talking about the master of disguising coverages and blitzes, and I would imagine Todd and his staff are tinkering behind the scenes, knowing that's week 1, to just throw the kitchen sink at this guy.
Oh yeah, most definitely. I mean, that's one of the things that we emphasize. Just making sure that we grind and sand those parts of our defense that are going to shine the most. And if we want those to shine, then we have to put in the work, the prep. That surface for when we go out there is shining spotless. Once we play against a quarterback of this caliber.
Outside of those 2 games against Commanders and Lions early on, are there any other games that you have circled on your calendar?
Yes, the Baltimore Ravens for sure. The
Yeah.
Baltimore Ravens, man. I'm looking forward to that game. I'm gonna do everything I can. Just because there's someone personally I know that loves the Ravens so much, and they're like, "Oh, I'm rooting for you," but that's my team, so I'm gonna be rooting for them. So I wish you the best. I
Who is
can't
this
wait to
now?
just shut them up.
Who is this?
I cannot wait to shut them up, man. That game, that play was huge too, man.
Yeah, but I'm
Man.
who's the Ravens fan?
Oh, that's like an old family friend.
Okay.
One of my
All right.
uncles, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if big old Vita Vea can sack Lamar Jackson, right? I'm sure someone like you who's faster than Vita can get to him too, right? I mean, your speed is probably going to have to be used to track down Lamar Jackson. He's as fleet of foot as they come at the quarterback position.
I believe I've seen it years in the making. I've been watching him, so he's one of those difficult quarterbacks that even if you win off the edge with a pass rush, it's not promised that you get a sack. So you got to make sure you finish all the way through.
Yeah. Last one for you. We really appreciate your time. This has been a lot of
Yeah.
No,
fun.
it's my pleasure. I've been
Hopefully you've
enjoying this.
enjoyed
This
it.
has been
Yeah.
funny.
Okay, so you weren't active. At least I don't think you were, but you weren't active for the Creamsicle game last year, right?
No, I got activated. That
Were
was the
you?
first
Okay.
game I was activated. Yep.
Okay.
All right.
Yep. I got activated that game.
So this game has not been announced yet in terms of which game it's going to be, but we've already seen some photo shoot pictures and all that. What are your thoughts on the Creamsicle uniform?
I love the change up, man. I absolutely love the change up. And I love they do it only once or twice. So like that once we do that game, you have to be there.
Yeah.
You have to grab that experience. So I love how they're keeping it a rare experience. So the value stays there. But I absolutely love it. I love it. I love the change up.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be fun seeing you in training camp again. You've gotten a lot of buzz this offseason. When Jason Light and Todd Bowles are excited to see you in pads, that's a good sign. Those are your bosses, right? When it comes to that, and it's up to you to just go out there and earn the the playing time, the reps, and climb that depth chart ladder. But we certainly appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us here in the Pewter Report podcast.
Yeah, thank you, Markees.
Thank y'all for having me.
That is going to do it for today's show. We really appreciate Markees Watts joining us. And, Adam, what a great way to end the week with Markees on.
Yeah, definitely. And continuing our trend of Bucs players and personnel, as you mentioned kind of early on in the show, Markees Watts felt like he gave some really great answers, some in-depth answers into like just his mindset and approach going into this season and how he's far from satisfied and he's very hungry to make his mark in the outside linebacker room.
We want you to help us make our mark as we climb towards 15,000 subscribers on Pewter Report TV. That's our YouTube channel. So please, if you like this video, the Pewter Report podcast, or my Pewter Pulse videos, or any of our great Bucs video content, make sure you go to Pewter Report TV, hit the subscribe button. It's free, and help our YouTube algorithm get us in front of more Pewter people like you. And you can help us by leaving a comment. It could be simply go Pewter Report, go Bucs, a thumbs up, or ask a question or leave a comment. And that interaction plus the likes, that helps our videos in terms of getting in front of more awesome Pewter people like you. Make sure you visit pewterreport.com, our website. You can follow us on social media on X, Facebook, and Instagram at Pewter Report. And for Adam Slavant, I'm Scott Reynolds saying thanks so much for joining us for another edition of the Pewter Report podcast. Out.